Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells the country's diaspora in the US that the American Indian spirit is the new AI power of the world.
मैं मानता हूं कि AI का मतलब है अमेरिका, इंडिया, ये स्पिरिट है.
India to open 2 new consulates in the US cities of Boston and Los Angeles. Prime Minister Modi makes the announcement at a mega Indian diaspora event in New York. Prime Minister Modi meets business leaders in New York City, discusses collaboration in AI, quantum computing, semiconductors and biotechnology. Anura Kumara Dissanayake wins Sri Lanka's presidential election. The 55-year-old Marxist leader gets 42.31% of the vote in Saturday's election. And double delight for India at the Chess Olympiad. Its men's and women's teams make history, win maiden gold medal in respective categories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is on a 3-day visit to the US, interacted with the CEOs of leading US-based companies to foster greater collaboration between the two countries in the cutting-edge areas of AI, quantum computing, semiconductors and biotechnology. The US CEOs roundtable meeting took place in New York City. The Prime Minister engaged directly with the CEOs from leading US-based companies. Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai was also among the participants. Prime Minister Modi and Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli have met in New York City. This meeting took place on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This is their first meeting since Oli assumed office for the 3rd time in July 2024. The discussions focused on bilateral relations and regional issues. Now, India's Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, who is on a 3-day visit to the US, addressed the Indian diaspora at the Nassau Coliseum in New York on Sunday. More than 16,000 people from all corners of the country attended the event to welcome Prime Minister Modi and listen to his much-anticipated speech. Prime Minister Modi spoke about how embracing diversity is part of the Indian culture and how unity in diversity is India's greatest strength.
मां भारती ने जो हमें सिखाया है वो हम कभी भी भूल नहीं सकते. हम जहां भी जाते हैं सबको परिवार मानकर उनसे घुल मिल जाते हैं. डायवर्सिटी को समझना, डायवर्सिटी को जीना, उसे अपने जीवन में उतारना, ये हमारे संस्कारों में है, हमारी रगों में है. हम उस देश के वासी हैं जहां सैकड़ों भाषाएं हैं, सैकड़ों बोलियां हैं, दुनिया के सारे मत है, पंथ है, फिर भी हम एक बनकर, नेक बनकर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं.
Prime Minister Modi appreciated the role of the Indian diaspora in connecting India and the US. He said the diaspora's skill, talent and commitment have catalyzed the relations between the two countries.
आपने अमेरिका को भारत से और भारत को अमेरिका से कनेक्ट किया है. आपका स्किल, आपका टैलेंट, आपका कमिटमेंट, इसका कोई मुकाबला नहीं है. आप 7 समंदर पार भले आए गए हैं, लेकिन कोई समंदर इतना गहरा नहीं जो दिल की गहराइयों में बसे हिंदुस्तान को आपसे दूर कर सके.
Prime Minister Modi said that for the world, AI stands for artificial intelligence, but AI also represents American Indian spirit.
दुनिया के लिए AI का मतलब है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि AI का मतलब है अमेरिकन इंडियन. अमेरिका इंडिया ये स्पिरिट है, और वही तो नई दुनिया का AI पावर है. यही AI स्पिरिट भारत अमेरिका रिश्तों को नई ऊंचाई दे रहा है.
Prime Minister Modi said that the world's largest election was held in India earlier this year.
जब हम भारत की डेमोक्रेसी का उसका स्केल देखते हैं तो और भी गर्व होता है. 3 महीने का पोलिंग प्रोसेस, 15 मिलियन यानी 1.5 करोड़ लोगों का पोलिंग स्टाफ, 1 मिलियन यानी 10 लाख से ज्यादा पोलिंग स्टेशन, 2,500 से ज्यादा पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, 8,000 से ज्यादा कैंडिडेट्स, अलग अलग भाषाओं के हजारों न्यूज़पेपर्स, सैकड़ों रेडियो स्टेशन, सैकड़ों टीवी न्यूज चैनल, करोड़ों सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट्स, लाखों सोशल मीडिया चैनल्स, ये सब भारत की डेमोक्रेसी को वाइब्रेंट बनाते हैं. ये फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन के विस्तार का दौर है. इस लेवल की स्क्रूटनी से होकर हमारे देश की चुनावी प्रक्रिया गुजरती है. और साथियों, इस लंबी चुनावी प्रक्रिया से गुजरकर इस बार भारत में कुछ अभूतपूर्व हुआ है. क्या हुआ है? क्या हुआ है? क्या हुआ है? क्या हुआ है? अब की बार
And joining me is my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh. Shubhendu, Prime Minister Modi returned to New York after 10 years to address the Indian diaspora. Tell us more about the Modi and US Progress Together event.
Absolutely, Ramesh, it was a roaring success. It was supposed to be a diaspora event, a welcome for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and there were references given to the Madison Square event. The energy that was witnessed here for Prime Minister Narendra Modi was exceptional. The same energy and perhaps even more what was witnessed in Madison Square and similar diaspora program elsewhere. We look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address at the diaspora event. He presents the India story, the major milestones that India has achieved as a nation. But at the same time, Prime Minister also presents the kind of power that India represents on a global stage. He underlined that it's not the kind of power that seeks to conquer. It is the kind of power that seeks to inspire. It's talking about cooperation, talking about diversity, which is ingrained in the Indian DNA, and also talking about the ways in which India seeks to grow from its present position. It's interesting that these comments are coming in New York, near the United Nations headquarters, near the world institutions which are crying for reform, and the manner in which India has been ready for a long time to play a greater role in that. Also, the title of the program, Modi and Us, or Modi and US, the organizers say it's a play of words, you can see it either ways, speaks volumes about how Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership has steered the relationship between India and the United States together is at a more dynamic, more consequential than ever before. We saw that in the Quad engagements and the bilateral engagements with the United States. Indian Americans also a hugely influential grouping within the United States, making great contributions to the US economy and society. All these elements put together really are ways in which the two democracies, India and the United States, are coming together, and the way in which they represent together a power for greater good for future.
And talking about the event itself, Shubhendu, 15,000 Indian nationals and persons of Indian origin, we are told, attended the event. What did they have to say afterwards?
They're very, very excited. They also thought they were very lucky to be part of the event. Remember, over 20,000 people had registered for this event for a stadium which had a capacity of just about 15,000. So many also did not get a chance to be a part of this program. And once they came out after listening to Prime Minister's address, they were all energized. As it were, Prime Minister had reiterated the kind of roadmap that Indian Americans should be looking at as far as cooperation between the two great countries are concerned. He reinvigorated the sense of Indianness in all the people who were present. He mentioned about how they were the real ambassadors of Indian culture and Indian values. Even as they create a new life in a new land, it is not really leaving one culture behind and adapting other, but the idea of taking both the cultures, both the values together. And he also demonstrated that in his example of how diversity is at the heart of India, and therefore perhaps it's easier for Indian Americans to adapt to new lands and culture because that is what we do in India. All kinds of culture, all kinds of diversities are accepted and celebrated, and that's what makes being Indian and Indian American all the more special. So those were elements that they related with when Prime Minister highlighted them. And of course, the kind of roadmap that Prime Minister laid out for India, its development, the kind of power that India seeks to become, all were the reasons why the people who had come to listen to Prime Minister were hugely energized.
And before we let you go, Shubhendu, let's talk a bit, if you will, about the remainder of the Prime Minister's itinerary. He has addressed the business leaders at a CEO's roundtable in the city. He has just finished a bilateral with Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. And we are looking forward to his address to the Summit of the Future as well.
That's right, Ramesh. Just a short while ago, the roundtable with the CEOs concluded. These were CEOs, leaders of the leading emerging technologies company firms in the United States. Many Indian Americans also heading these organizations, and that also speaks volumes about the kind of focused attention Prime Minister has been paying to the economic ties between the two countries. Emerging technologies is the future, is the way to go. Greater cooperation, greater opportunity lies as far as cooperation in these fields are concerned. So that was an important meet. A number of bilaterals are lined up, as you mentioned, with Nepalese leadership. It just concluded a short while ago, and he said it was a good meeting, the Nepali leader, Prime Minister Oli said. Besides that, all eyes are going to be on Monday's Summit of the Future. It has already started, but Prime Minister's address comes on Monday. And Summit of the Future is very significant for world leaders to be able to reimagine, realign their sustainable development goals, goals that have not been met as per the set targets. It isn't time to assess, but it is also the time to reflect on the manner in which these delays, these crises and conflicts have a bearing on the global south, the developing countries, the poorer countries. And it is expected that when Prime Minister speaks to the world leaders on the platform of United Nations, the priorities of the global south will form a significant part of his address.
Shubhendu, thank you very much. Shubhendu Ghosh reporting there from New York City. Now, in his address, the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, spoke about his vision for India's future. He called it PUSHP, which in Hindi means a flower. He said the acronym PUSHP is putting India on the path to progress and prosperity.
आपको एक शब्द याद रहेगा, पुष्प. हाँ, कमल मान लीजिए, मुझे इतराज नहीं है. पुष्प, और मैं पुष्प को डिफाइन करता हूं. P फॉर प्रोग्रेसिव भारत, U फॉर अनस्टॉपेबल भारत, S फॉर स्पिरिचुअल भारत, H फॉर ह्यूमैनिटी फर्स्ट को समर्पित भारत, P फॉर प्रोस्परस भारत, यानी पुष्प. पुष्प की 5 पंखुड़ियों को मिलाकर ही विकसित भारत बनाएंगे.
Prime Minister Modi said that India is now a land of opportunities. The country does not wait for opportunities anymore. Instead, it creates opportunities.
भारत आज लैंड ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज है, अवसरों की धरती है. अब भारत अवसरों का इंतजार नहीं करता. अब भारत अवसरों का निर्माण करता है. बीते 10 साल में भारत ने हर सेक्टर में अपॉर्चुनिटीज का एक नया लॉन्चिंग पैड तैयार किया है. आप देखिए, सिर्फ 1 दशक में ही, और ये बात आप सबको गर्व देगी, 1 दशक में ही 25 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर निकले हैं.
India and the US have entered into an arrangement to set up manufacturing of a new semiconductor fabrication plant focused on advanced sensing, communication and power electronics for national security, next generation telecommunications and green energy applications. It will be the first ever India-US semiconductor fab cooperation of its kind.
US President Joe Biden and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed a watershed arrangement to establish a new semiconductor fabrication plant focused on advanced sensing, communication and power electronics for national security, next generation telecommunications and green energy applications. The fab will be enabled by support from the India Semiconductor Mission as well as a strategic...
Let me get you some more latest visuals coming to you from New York City of India's Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, holding a bilateral meeting with the Crown Prince of Kuwait. These are the latest visuals coming to you from New York City, where Prime Minister Modi has just held a bilateral with the Crown Prince of Kuwait on the margins of the United Nations meetings there. So if you're just joining us, these are the latest visuals of a meeting between the Prime Minister of India and the Crown Prince of Kuwait held in New York City on the margins of the United Nations meetings. Right, just to recap, if you are just tuning in, we're getting these latest visuals of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding a bilateral meeting with the Crown Prince of Kuwait in New York City on the margins of the United Nations meetings. Right, going back to the diaspora event held earlier in New York, speaking about India's freedom struggle, Prime Minister Modi said that he did not get a chance to sacrifice his life for the freedom of the country, but from day one of his election as the country's Prime Minister, his mission has been to dedicate his life for the freedom and prosperity of the nation.
पहले दिन से मेरा मन और मेरा मिशन एकदम क्लियर रहा है। मैं स्वराज के लिए जीवन नहीं दे पाया, लेकिन मैंने तय किया सुराज और समृद्ध भारत के लिए जीवन समर्पित करूंगा। मेरे जीवन का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा ऐसा रहा जिसमें मैं सालों साल तक पूरे देश में घूमता रहा, भटकता रहा, जहां खाना मिला वहां खा लिया, जहां सोने को मिला वहां सो लिया, समंदर के किनारे से लेकर पहाड़ों तक, रेगिस्तान से लेकर बर्फीली चोटियों तक मैं हर क्षेत्र के लोगों से मिला, उनको जाना, समझा। मैंने अपने देश के जीवन, अपने देश की संस्कृति, अपने देश की चुनौतियों का फर्स्ट हैंड एक्सपीरियंस लिया। वो भी एक वक्त था जब मैंने अपनी दिशा कुछ और तय की थी, लेकिन नियति ने मुझे राजनीति में पहुंचा दिया।
Prime Minister Modi said that India's 5G market is bigger than that of the US, and the change has taken place just within the last 2 years. Today, India was working on a Made in India 6G.
आप हैरान होंगे, आज भारत का 5G मार्केट, बताऊं? बुरा नहीं लगेगा ना? आज भारत का 5G मार्केट अमेरिका से भी बड़ा हो चुका है। और ये 2 साल के भीतर भीतर हुआ है। अब तो भारत मेड इन इंडिया 6G पर काम कर रहा है। ये कैसे हुआ? ये इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि हमने इस सेक्टर को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए पॉलिसीज बनाई, हमने मेड इन इंडिया टेक्नोलॉजी पर काम किया, हमने सस्ते डेटा पर मोबाइल फोन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर फोकस किया। आज दुनिया का करीब करीब हर बड़ा मोबाइल ब्रांड मेड इन इंडिया है।
The Indian Prime Minister also spoke about how the country will play a role in enhancing global growth.
आज का भारत दुनिया में एक नए कैटलिस्ट एजेंट की तरह उभर रहा है और इसका प्रभाव हर सेक्टर में दिखेगा। ग्लोबल ग्रोथ के प्रोसेस को तेज करने के लिए भारत का रोल अहम होगा। ग्लोबल पीस के प्रोसेस को तेज करने के लिए भारत का रोल अहम होगा। ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट एक्शन को स्पीड अप करने में भारत का रोल अहम होगा। ग्लोबल स्किल गैप को दूर करने में भारत का रोल अहम होगा। ग्लोबल इनोवेशंस को नई दिशा देने में भारत का रोल अहम होगा। ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन में स्टेबिलिटी के लिए भारत का भूमिका अहम होगा। साथियों, भारत के लिए शक्ति और सामर्थ्य का अर्थ है, भारत के लिए शक्ति और सामर्थ्य का अर्थ है ज्ञानाय, दानाय, च रक्षणाय। यानी नॉलेज इज फॉर शेयरिंग, वेल्थ इज फॉर कैरिंग, पावर इज फॉर प्रोटेक्टिंग।
Prime Minister Modi announced that India will open 2 new consulates in Boston and Los Angeles.
मुझे आपको ये बताते हुए खुशी है कि आपके सुझावों के बाद भारत ने बोस्टन और लॉस एंजलिस में 2 नए कॉन्सुलेट खोलने का निर्णय लिया है।
The U.S. returned 297 antiquities that had either been stolen or trafficked from India. Prime Minister Modi said that the gesture indicates that India and its people are respected globally.
कल ही अमेरिका ने हमारे करीब 300 पुराने जो शिलालेख और मूर्तियां थी जो कभी हिंदुस्तान से कोई चोरी कर गया होगा, कोई 1500 साल पुरानी, कोई 2000 साल पुरानी, 300 शिलालेख और मूर्तियां भारत को लौटाई है। अभी तक अमेरिका ऐसी लगभग 500 धरोहरें भारत को लौटा चुका है। ये कोई छोटी सी चीज लौटाने का विषय नहीं है, ये हमारी हजारों वर्षों की विरासत का सम्मान है। ये भारत का सम्मान है और ये आपका भी सम्मान है। मैं अमेरिका की सरकार का इसके लिए बहुत आभारी हूं।
This repatriation is a result of the strong bilateral ties and cultural cooperation between the two nations. During their bilateral meeting at Wilmington in Delaware on Saturday, Prime Minister Modi and President Biden were presented with a selection of these artifacts. The gesture follows the Cultural Preservation Agreement signed in July 2024 fulfilling commitments made by President Biden and Prime Minister Modi to safeguard cultural heritage, which flowed from a joint statement issued after the two leaders met in June of 2023. Now, some of the notable antiquities handed over to India include Apsara in sandstone from central India belonging to the 10th or 11th century CE, Jain Tirthankar in bronze from central India belonging to the 15th or 16th century CE, terracotta vase from eastern India belonging to the 3rd and 4th century CE, stone sculpture from southern India belonging to the 1st century BCE, Lord Ganesha in bronze from southern India, standing Lord Buddha in sandstone from northern India, Lord Vishnu in bronze from eastern India, anthropomorphic figure in copper from northern India, Lord Krishna in bronze from southern India belonging to the 17th and 18th centuries, and Lord Kartikeya in granite from southern India belonging to the 13th and 14th centuries. Still to come on DD India News Hour. 4 dead and dozens injured in a mass shooting outside a bar in the U.S. state of Alabama. The Israel-Hezbollah conflict escalates. And hundreds of people in Tunisia hold a sit-in against President Kais Saied, accusing him of deepening his authoritarian rule and stifling political competition.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells the country's diaspora in the US that the American Indian spirit is the new AI power of the world. India to open 2 new consulates in the US cities of Boston and Los Angeles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi makes the announcement at a mega Indian diaspora event in New York. And Anura Kumara Dissanayake wins Sri Lanka's presidential election. The 55-year-old Marxist leader gets 42.31% of the vote in Saturday's election. After concluding the Quad Leaders Summit in Delaware, U.S. President Joe Biden returned to the White House on Sunday. While addressing the media, Biden said that the United States will do everything possible to prevent an escalation of conflict in West Asia as hostilities flare up between Israel and Hezbollah.
Yes, I am, but we're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out. And we're still pushing hard. Thank you.
And Biden said that the meetings with Quad leaders were successful and that they are working unitedly.
We had very successful meetings with the Quad in Delaware. Total unity, we're all working together. We feel good about what we're doing. And I think the other leaders do as well.
Israel's army chief Herzi Halevi said on Sunday that it was well prepared for the next stages of fighting against the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel and Hezbollah exchanged heavy fire into Sunday. Israeli warplanes carried out the most intense bombardment in almost a year of conflict across Lebanon's south. The Israeli military said it struck nearly 300 targets on Saturday, including thousands of Hezbollah rocket launcher barrels. It said that it would continue to hit more such targets. Israel closed its schools and restricted gatherings in many northern areas and ordered hospitals there to transfer their operations to facilities with extra protection from rocket and missile fire.
We have attacked over the past few days hundreds of terrorist targets in Lebanon. This morning, Hezbollah fired to the north once more. This fire was directed towards civilians. No sovereign state can tolerate such a threat against its citizens and its sovereignty. Hezbollah places its launchers next to Lebanese civilians, and by that it endangers them. We will do whatever it takes to remove threats against Israel. We will return the residents safely to their homes. Of Hezbollah still has not understood this after the past 2 weeks, then it will keep getting hit until it does.
The Israeli army released a short video of the Home Front Command inspecting the damage from Hezbollah rockets hitting Kiryat Bialik on Sunday. The army said in their Telegram channel that there had been a barrage of rockets from Lebanon into northern Israel overnight and on Sunday morning. 2 elderly men and a teenaged girl were wounded by shrapnel in Kiryat Bialik, Israeli medics service reported. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations told world leaders at the UN on Sunday that his country is a peaceful nation but will use all means to protect its people. Israel's ambassador Danny Danon was addressing the leaders at the Summit of the Future.
While Israel is fully committed to this pact and the pursuit of the SDGs, we continue to face relentless attacks from non-state actors that threaten our very existence. As we gather here today to speak about the future, hundreds of rockets are being fired at our civilian population. Let me be clear, we are a peaceful nation. We do not seek war, nor do we desire it. However, we will not stand by as our people are attacked. We will use all means at hand, our determination, our innovation, and our strength to protect our people.
UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy addressed the Labour Party's conference on Sunday. He painted an optimistic future for Britain on the global stage. Lammy proudly proclaimed that Britain was back when talking about its relationship with Europe. He reaffirmed his calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
First weeks of government, I went to Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories to call for an immediate ceasefire. Words no previous foreign secretary had even used.
A shooting outside a nightclub in the U.S. state of Alabama on Saturday left 4 people dead and 18 injured. A video captured in the aftermath of the shooting showed a victim's body on the sidewalk and several eyewitnesses talking to each other. Multiple shooters fired into a group of people as they waited to enter the nightclub in Birmingham. A manhunt for the suspects is underway. Officials from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms were assisting with the investigation. Moving on, Sri Lanka elected a Marxist-Leninist leader, Anurag Kumara Dissanayake, as its new president on Sunday, putting faith in his pledge to fight corruption and bolster a fragile economic recovery following the South Asian nation's worst financial crisis in decades. 55-year-old Dissanayake, who does not possess political lineage like some of his rivals in the presidential election, knocked out incumbent Ranil Wickremesinghe and opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. The election was a referendum on Wickremesinghe, who led the heavily indebted nation's fragile economic recovery from an economic meltdown. But the austerity measures, which were key to his recovery, angered voters. He finished third with 17% of the votes. Dissanayake polled 5.6 million or 42.3% of the votes, a massive boost to the 3% he had managed in the last presidential election of 2019. Premadasa was second at 32.8%.
There was a need for a government with a mandate from the people if you want to rescue the country from the crisis. We know in the recent past the mandate was distorted. The distortion of the people's mandate affected the parliament and other institutions beyond that. The people's mandate that is needed to take this country forward is being established. That was the main point of the presidential election. And I think the general election should be held immediately after.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Mr. Dissanayake. He wrote on X, and I quote, "Congratulations, Anura Dissanayake, on your win in the Sri Lankan presidential elections. Sri Lanka is very important to India's neighborhood first policy and vision, Sagar. I'm excited to work with you to build our partnership and improve life for our people and the entire region," unquote. And India's High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, called on President-elect Anura Kumara Dissanayake in Colombo. The envoy conveyed the greetings from India's leadership and congratulated Mr. Dissanayake on winning the mandate. India, as Sri Lanka's civilizational twin, says it's committed to further deepening the ties for the prosperity of the peoples of their two countries. Kenya's President William Ruto, on a visit to Haiti, said on Saturday that he was open to Kenya's anti-gang fighting mission in the country being converted to a UN peacekeeping operation. Ruto visited violence-plagued Haiti to assess the progress of the multinational security support mission, where Kenya is playing a leading role to curb rampant gang violence that has ushered years of political chaos and mass displacement. The mandate of the mission, first approved by the United Nations Security Council for 12 months, is set to expire at the start of October. The 15-member UN Security Council is due to vote on 30th September on renewing the mandate. Kenya sent about 400 police officers to Port-au-Prince in June and July. A handful of other countries have together pledged at least 1,900 more troops.
As you are all aware, on 21st of September last year, a day like today, I stood before the United Nations General Assembly to undertake Kenya's leadership of the multinational security force, subsequent to the United Nations Security Council providing the necessary mandate. And I'm very happy that today I have arrived in this city and the multinational security support mission is on its 100-day presence.
In more news from Africa, hundreds of Tunisians protested on Sunday against President Kais Saied, accusing him of deepening his authoritarian rule and stifling political competition 2 weeks before a presidential election. Amid heavy police presence, protesters for a second week marched along the capital Tunis's main avenue, a focal point of the 2011 Arab Spring Revolution, chanting slogans including "The people want the fall of the regime" and "Out with dictator Saied." The protest came after lawmakers proposed a bill to strip the administrative court of its authority to adjudicate electoral disputes, a move that the opposition says would discredit the 6th October election and pave the way for Saied to secure a second term. Political tensions in the North African country have risen since an electoral commission named by Saied disqualified 3 prominent presidential candidates, Monder Zenedi, Abdulatif Mekki and Imed Daimi. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India will host the 16th Assembly of Asian Organization of Supreme Audit Institutions in New Delhi from 24th to 27th of September. The event will be inaugurated by India's President Draupadi Murmu. It will focus on the role of Supreme Audit Institutions in enhancing transparency and accountability. A highlight of this year's assembly is the assumption of the chair of the organization, by India's Girish Chandra Murmu for the 2024 to 2027 term. More than 200 delegates from 42 countries and organizations will participate, highlighting the organization's collaborative spirit. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's cricket board announces squad for the second test against Bangladesh. And McLaren's Lando Norris dominates the Singapore Grand Prix from start to finish.
Swagata. Welcome to the land of breathtaking, natural splendor, magnificent architecture and rich cultural heritage. From the temples of Hampi to the Mysore Palace, from the ruins of the Vijayanagar Empire to Jog Falls and Bandipur Tiger Reserve, Karnataka's diverse and vibrant landscape has much to offer to everyone. With the largest coffee growing area and production of the highest quality of sandalwood, Karnataka is a leading agricultural state of India. Dubbed the Silicon Valley of India, Bengaluru, the capital of Karnataka, is India's leading information technology exporter. The state is a global startup hub and a manufacturing center for some of the largest public sector industries in India, including Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, National Aerospace Laboratories, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, Bharat Earth Movers Limited. Karnataka is home to India's premier science and technology research centers, such as Indian Space Research Organization, and leads the nation in biotechnology. From its glorious past to a global future, Karnataka presents a perfect blend of India's diverse cultural history and modern outlook.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. A roadside bomb hit a convoy of foreign diplomats visiting northwestern Pakistan on Sunday, killing a police officer in their security detail. Soldiers and police searched the area after the bombing and imposed a curfew there. No one has so far claimed responsibility for the attack, which was condemned by Pakistan's President Asif Ali Zardari. Local police said all the nearly dozen diplomats were safe and were heading back to Islamabad. The Danube peaked at a 10-year high in a heavily fortified Budapest on Saturday, with the water reaching the steps of Hungary's parliament after a deadly storm Boris lashed Europe. Torrential rains and strong winds have led to widespread flooding in Central and Eastern Europe since last week, killing 24 people and devastating towns and villages. Villagers in Baha, a 160 kilometers south of Budapest, were navigating flooded streets in boats on Sunday as the Danube River continued to rise. Residents say that they have never witnessed 3 floods in 1 year. The floodwaters are expected to peak, moving south toward Serbian and Croatian localities. In Budapest, the Danube is forecast to reach 8.5 meters, near record levels, but still below those seen in 2013. This past week has seen floods wreak havoc across Central Europe, leaving destruction from Romania to Poland. As the swollen Danube waters moved south, Hungary's emergency workers lugged sandbags to fortify settlements, including Budapest, where the river has flooded the embankment up to the steps of the parliament. Experts say that climate change caused by greenhouse gas emissions generated by human activity is increasing the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events such as torrential rains and floods. And now to news from the world of sport. India's chess team scripted history by winning 2 gold medals in the open and women's sections on Sunday in Hungary. In the open section, the Indian men's team outplayed Slovenia 3.5 to 0.5. Gokesh, Arjun and Pragnyananda secured wins, whereas Vidith drew his game comfortably in the round of 11. In the women's sections, India crushed Azerbaijan. Harika, Divya and Vantika scored wins, whereas Vaishali settled for a draw. The Indian team will be awarded the prestigious Gaprin Dashwali Cup, which is given to the best performing federation. That includes the performance of open and women's sections. With this victory, India bettered its performance from the 2022 Olympiad, where it won a bronze medal on home soil. Previously, India won a bronze in the 2014 edition. So India made a mark in the world of chess on Sunday, winning the 2 golds at the 45th Chess Olympiad. Its men's and women's teams won a gold each. And Prime Minister Modi spoke about the win in his address to the Indian diaspora in the US.
भारत एनर्जी से भरा हुआ है, सपनों से भरा हुआ है। रोज नए कीर्तिमान, हर रोज नई खबर। आज ही एक और बहुत अच्छी खबर मिली है। चेस ओलंपियाड में मेंस और वुमेन्स दोनों में भारत को गोल्ड मिला है। ये लगभग 100 साल के इतिहास में पहली बार हुआ है। पूरे देश को, हर हिंदुस्तानी को हमारे चेस प्लेयर्स पर बहुत गर्व है।
The Board of Control for Cricket in India Men's Selection Committee pronounced the squad for the second test against Bangladesh on Sunday. It retained the same squad for the second test. The second test will be played in Kanpur from 27th September. India beat Bangladesh by 280 runs on day 4 of the first test. Ravi Chandran Ashwin picked a fiver and hit 100. Rishabh Pant also made his comeback to Test cricket with a century. McLaren's Lando Norris dominated the Singapore Grand Prix from start to finish on Sunday to take another chunk out of Max Verstappen's Formula One Championship lead. The 24-year-old Briton rode away from pole position at the floodlit Marina Bay circuit and led every lap to the checkered flag. Verstappen finished second for Red Bull, a massive 20.9 seconds behind, and McLaren's Oscar Piastri finished third. Verstappen's 59-point lead over Norris was cut to 52 points with 6 rounds, including 3 sprints remaining, while McLaren stretched its lead over Red Bull in the constructors' standings. Third seed Beatriz Haddad Maia fought back from a set down to beat top seed Daria Kasatkina 1-6, 6-4, 6-1 and claim her first WTA title of the season at the Korea Open on Sunday. The Brazilian overcame a shaky start after Kasatkina raced through the opening set in 26 minutes, losing just 2 points on her serve. Haddad Maia continued to be on the back foot in the second as well, trailing 0-2. Before storming back to turn the match on its head. The world number 17 now has 4 career WTA titles and has now won 12 of her last 14 matches. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.